welcome you watching the Monday edition of This Is Exclusive with me, Shavan Sen. We tell you why General Asif Munir isn't really telling the people of Pakistan the truth. I wonder why. Tonight on This Is Exclusive, we tell you why Field Marshal Asif Munir doesn't want to tell the people of Pakistan how India has basically carried out massive destruction in Pakistan, so much so that they haven't been able to recover from their losses. Visual evidence once again on This Is Exclusive. Not just that, ladies and gentlemen, why the world should actually pull up Pakistan. The collaboration between the Pakistani army and the terror groups, it was known all this while, but tonight on This Is Exclusive, we're going to put out images just 2 days after Operation Sindoor. How helpless Pakistani army had to once again take help of terror groups to fight the war. All this and much more on This Is Exclusive, but up first, let me take you to the headlines we're tracking at this hour. It's the ultimate 35-second video evidence of how India reduced critical Pakistani air bases to rubble on the show tonight. Pahalgam Mastermind's top aide seen in Pakistan army uniform near the border. Can Islamabad deny their deep nexus to terrorists anymore? Under Trump fire, India responds with trade review orders to American company Boeing under lets. Top Karnataka Minister K.N. Rajanam resigns after he questions Rahul on voter fraud, claims all-out political face-off breaks out. Ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan's desperate attempts to whitewash the catastrophic fallout of Operation Sindoor only deepens the shadow of its complicity in fostering terrorism. But the bad news for Islamabad is that the undeniable scars of the strikes shatter their hollow denials. With a brazen narrative of minimal impact, Pakistan's spin doctors have scrambled to dismiss the precision devastating strikes on their air bases, terror camps and military assets. But the smoldering wreckage of Rahim Yar Khan's runway that silenced radars at Chaklala and the obliterated Lashkar-e-Toiba headquarters in Murid case scream a truth too loud to suppress. And tonight we bring you, like always, more evidence, more proof that it will be a while before Pakistan forgets the 23-minute exercise by India on 7th of May. On your screens, we're going to put out exclusive visuals of Rahim Yar Khan Air Base in the aftermath of the strikes. 35-second video is a testament to the damage that has been inflicted by our forces in Pakistan. A runway absolutely crippled and reduced to nothing. This is in a short while from now, the Rahim Yar Khan Air Base as it stands today. But before that, I'm going to first show you the satellite imagery on your screens, the before and after proof that we have seen, and perhaps you have seen this many a times. It clearly goes on to indicate that before, it's a perfectly fine runway of the Rahim Yar Khan and the air defense radar system. And after, obviously, that's the visual imagery that we have on our screens. Now, let's quickly go across to the 35 seconds of this particular. This is exactly how the Rahim Yar Khan Air Base now looks like. Evidence of how India destroyed one of the key installations of the Pakistanis, the runway which was obliterated. So much so, it seems that other third-party countries who have their interest in this particular airport has also felt the stinging response. And that is the reason why, ladies and gentlemen, you have Field Marshal Asif Munir going to United States of America and continuing with what many would say warmongering, because perhaps he needs to divert the attention from this, divert the attention from the way Pakistan's key military installations were absolutely obliterated by the 23-minute military exercise that was carried out by India. A precision strike that was carried out, multiple air bases that were also struck, but Rahim Yar Khan, remember, Rahim Yar Khan, which happens to be one of the most significant, important air bases in Pakistan, was obliterated, razed to the ground. What you see on your screen, this huge crater that has been created, which is why multiple NOTAMs have been issued by the Pakistanis, because they are trying to reconstruct. As I understand, even today, remember, it's non-operational, and this is the reason why you have an Asim Munir who's perhaps carrying out a face saver at this point in time, addressing much of what he said in the United States of America for his domestic audience, because somewhere down the line, if at all, Asim Munir, who's basically aiming at taking full control from the civilian administration in Pakistan, needs to continue threatening. And the reason why he's doing this is because, remember, most of his assets, most of the Pakistani assets, the details of which I'm going to put out in a short while from now, are going to make it abundantly clear as to what was the purpose of Field Marshal Asim Munir's visit to United States of America, and why exactly he's making all the efforts to try and save the face for the Pakistani army. Now, let's get you more sensational details on Operation Sindoor. Ladies and gentlemen, the details that we're getting to you tonight on this is exclusive details of Operation Sindoor, how exactly it was carried out, and within few minutes, what was really obliterated. Pakistan's military was left reeling from Operation Sindoor that obliterated key assets and exposed their vulnerabilities with surgical precision. Let's begin with the 10th of May. A strike on Chaklala Airbases hangar destroyed a C-130 Hercules VVIP transport aircraft. Simultaneously, the attack also crippled Northern PAF command and control network, leaving it in blind for about a couple of minutes. In Jacobabad, 2 of F-16s were reduced to wreckage. Indian Army's M777 howitzers pounded Pakistani posts near the LoC abandoned by the fleeing troops. Adding to the carnage was the S-400 missile system, which the IAF chief has described as the game changer, and which shot down a wide-bodied aircraft near the Indo-Pakistan border in Pakistan's Punjab. These are some of the details. We're going to go through all the plates that we have right now, specific details that we have. On the 10th of May, C-130 Hercules aircraft hangar at Chaklala Air Base was struck by the forces. 2 F-16 fighter jets was also destroyed at Jacobabad Air Base. That was on the 10th of May. Northern PAF command and control network was taken down after the Chaklala attack. And the M777 howitzers were used to target Pakistani posts near the LoC. Now, S-400 missile shot down wide-bodied Pakistan aircraft near the border, that was at the Punjab border. We're going to take you through some of the other details that we also have right now with regards to what really happened on 10th of May. These are specific details that we have now got of the operation itself. Let's now take you through how exactly the terrorist camps were basically attacked. And we have now got specific details of how we did that. 2 of the F-16 fighter jets damaged in the strikes in the Pakistani air bases. Now, what's important to point out here, in Jacobabad, which happens to be one of their main air bases, F-16s partially was damaged. SQ-9 fire unit radar at Chaklala, Chinese LY-80 fire radar, and 2 US-made tracking radars were destroyed. Let's move on. 19 BrahMos supersonic cruise missiles at the Pakistani air bases. So we now have confirmation, specific details that 19 BrahMos missiles were actually fired. French Scalp cruise missiles that were used in the precision strikes, we are given to understand that the Scalp missiles were basically used to target the Lashkar-e-Toiba headquarters. Murid ke headquarters was also hit by a crystal maze missile, not one, multiple missiles that were basically fired, and this was at the Murid headquarters. Bahawalpur's Jaish facility was struck by the Scalp missiles, that's the French missiles that were basically used. In fact, Rafales were also used for this. M77 howitzers obliterated the Tier 2 defenses along the LoC. What we are given to understand is because of the Indian Army's howitzers. You've had the Pakistanis actually leaving their own posts and moving out. I'm going to go back to the 35-second video while I'm going to also bring in my colleagues Ishan as well as Gursimran joining us on this broadcast while we take you through the details of it. Let me have Ishan and Gursimran on the screens right now as we put this video. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast. It's a special edition of This is the Exclusive where we are getting minute-to-minute details of what really happened in Pakistan during Operation Sindoor. And what's the context? The context is this. Field Marshal Asim Munir is completely embarrassed. And that is the reason why when he goes to United States of America, he perhaps wants to address his own audience, the audience that he's hoping would come and support him. Ishan, first to you with regards to this 35-second video that has been accessed by Republic TV, which goes on to indicate that Rahim Yar Khan Air Base has been completely obliterated, and even till date, the reconstruction hasn't taken place.
Shavan, the video clearly shows damage to the runway of Rahim Yar Khan Air Base. This is damage sustained from the BrahMos missile. It shows the crater in the middle of the runway. We had also seen the Pakistani military issue emergency military engineering work orders to conduct repairs of these bases, but these bases are not yet operational and the damage sustained by these bases were extensive. Furthermore, we had seen that Yusuf, who is the bodyguard of Yusuf, who is the LET designated terrorist bodyguard of the mastermind of the Pahalgam attacks, was seen in army uniform recently, and this shows the collaboration between the military and the establishment of Pakistan with the terrorist forces against India and giving them utmost support in planning and executing the operations against India.
Ishan, I'll request you to stay on with us as my colleague Gursimran is joining us on this broadcast. Gursimran, I've got specific details now from top sources with regards to how many missiles were actually fired. 19 BrahMos missiles fired. Power of the Scalp missiles that we are putting out, this was basically used now to target the Lashkar-e-Toiba headquarters, Murid and I'm sorry, there was Bahawalpur where this was actually used, and it turns out that the destruction that has taken place thereafter. Gursimran, first to you with regards to the 35 seconds video that Republic TV has accessed and specific details of Crystal Maze, Scalp and BrahMos missiles that was used for Operation Sindoor.
Shavan, the 35-second video that has been accessed by Republic clearly shows a big crater in the middle of the Rahim Yar Khan. And this was done by the BrahMos, and it was very clear, it was very evident that this all was done in the pre-planning, the visit of the Army Chief to the Northern Command of the Indian Army, 3 days post the Pahalgam terror attack. Everything was being finalized because 7 out of the 9 targets were taken from the Northern Command area only. So it was pre-decided that what will be hit at what intensity, because earlier in the first strikes, the first set of strikes, it was only at the headquarters of the terror groups and also their main bases that the India hit. 21 bases identified, 9 bases hit by India. But when Pakistan tried to escalate, India hit in a manner that Pakistan actually failed to overcome that even now, because the crater in the Rahim Yar Khan, it is beyond the repair, and that's why we have seen the emergency tenders that were floated by the Pakistan. Everything went for nothing, because no one turned up to actually have the repair of this one, because the intensity of the strike was so much that Rahim Yar Khan became non-operational, and non-operational in such a manner that it's been more than 90 days of the Indian strikes on the Rahim Yar Khan, and it is still what the Pakistan is struggling, that how to make this air base operational. So this was the power of BrahMos, and like you have mentioned, that the way it has been planned and executed, it actually showed the might of the Indian armed forces.
Well, Gursimran, I'll request you to stay on with us. I'll just quickly recap for all our viewers who are tuning in right now, the big breaking news coming in on This Is Exclusive tonight. The 35-second video of Rahim Yar Khan Airbase, a key military installation of the Pakistanis, that was completely obliterated. In fact, now we've got specific details of what really happened on 10th of May, when it turns out that key command and control center of the Pakistani Air Force went into a complete blind now for a couple of minutes soon after the attack took place at Chaklala. C-130 Hercules transport aircraft that was damaged, 2 F-16 fighter jets that have been destroyed at the Jacobabad airbase. Northern PAF command and control network, it was taken down after the Chaklala attack. And what we are also given to understand is that Pakistani assets that were obliterated and the Pakistani posts from where the troops had already moved out. Well, in fact, let's now go to take you through other details that we are getting in right now. In fact, the two coming together. Our next breaking basically shows you what was unfolding just 2 days after Operation Sindoor was actually launched. How terror state Pakistan in complete panic moved top Lashkar-e-Toiba commanders near the border to assist the Munir army. They scrambled to deploy terrorists to the line of control by 9th of May, as captured in the chilling photographs from Hajira post. The desperate move orchestrated under the Pakistan's army's strategic directive saw Lashkar terrorists positioned along the line of control. Now, this was as part of Operation Bunyan-ul-Marsus that was launched on 10th of May. Visual evidence from 9th of May reveals Pakistan's frantic bid to reinforce its crumbling defenses, exposing the deep collusion that was between its military and terrorist networks. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to put out images just 2 days after the operation. After Operation Sindoor, you have a completely rattled Pakistani army going back to their leaders. That is the Lashkar-e-Toiba as well as the Jaish-e-Mohammed. On your screens right now, designated Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorist who was actually spotted at the Hajira post, at the Pakistani post, was actually wearing a Pakistani uniform and carried out the attack, the retaliation, the counter-retaliation with Lashkar-e-Toiba as well as Jaish-e-Mohammed being together, coming in handy for the Pakistani army. So we are putting out full details of a terrorist who was spotted wearing, can we also quickly move around with the pictures? We have on your screen, this is Saifullah, who's actually seen right now on your screens. There is also a video which we haven't, we've just put out. These are videos that we have also accessed. This was the movement that actually took place. Now, top military intelligence sources have now confirmed to Republic TV the very fact that the Pakistani army has always been using these terror groups to their advantage. And to fight India, they had no other way but to actually resort to some sort of a help to really come in from the Lashkar-e-Toiba as well as Jaish-e-Mohammed. In fact, what you see right now is these are visuals from the Hajira post, which has been accessed by Republic TV, and we are putting out full details after multiple checks that we have found out that they were essentially being used primarily to carry out their counter strike. Let me also bring in my colleague Ishan as well as Gursimran. Gursimran getting us the latest details. Gursimran, we have, after multiple checks, we are now finally putting out the full video. We are putting out the pictures. First, explain it to our viewers that this is just 2 days after Operation Sindoor. So you have a completely rattled Pakistanis resorting to some sort of a help coming in from the Lashkar-e-Toiba.
Yes, Chavan, it was 2 days after the India's Operation Sindoor was launched, because it was on the early hours of the 7th of May that India launched the Operation Sindoor and decimated the terror infrastructure of Pakistan. It was but obvious that the Pakistani terror commanders will be on the run, and so that happened. But what turns out to be that it was the Pakistani terror groups that were actually providing a refueling or an additional support to the Pakistani army. A day prior to the launch of Pakistan's Operation Bunyan-ul-Marsus, Pakistan had the Lashkar-e-Toiba, the US designated terrorist in their forward launch places. This is opposite to the Poonch line of control. It is Hajira where this deployment was done, and the name of the terror commander is Yusuf, who happens to be the security detail officer, a PSO of the mastermind of Pahalgam terror attack, Saifullah Kasuri. He was seen there not only once but multiple photographs have been circulated in the internal groups of Lashkar-e-Toiba stating that see how our Mujahideens, what they call their terrorists, they are on the active line of the duty. He was seen in the forward post of the Pakistan army that was ready to retaliate to India, and which they actually did when India carried out the strikes at the Pakistani army locations. They tried to retaliate, but it was given a befitting reply. But Pakistan was all prepared, not only with their army but also with their terror groups, and it was before the launch of the Operation Masroor. So terror groups were well aware that Pakistan is going to launch an operation on India a day prior, and that's why they were sent to the forward locations on the line of control, Shavan.
Well, in fact, Ishan, let me also bring you in while we stay with these pictures. Gursubran getting us that big exclusive right now. We have got two huge breakings that we have got tonight on This Is Exclusive. First, the 35-second video of the Rahim Yar Khan base, which once again goes on to indicate why Field Marshal Asim Munir is completely rattled, and this comes just days after Indian Air Force Air Marshal AP Singh, Air Chief Marshal AP Singh, making it very clear that at least 5 of Pakistani aircrafts were brought down, and one of the longest strike that was basically carried out, a surface-to-air missile that was used to bring down one wide-bodied aircraft. In fact, let me just go back to the pictures of the Pakistani terrorists from the post, Hajira post, that has been accessed. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take you through one more breaking news now coming in. Now, this is a massive revelation on Pakistan's complicity. Pakistan's complicity in getting in touch with several of these terror groups. In fact, it turns out that there was a close coordination between Pakistan's army as well as the Lashkar-e-Toiba. The UN-designated Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorist Yusuf, who happens to be the bodyguard of Pahalgam attack mastermind Saifullah Kasuri, was spotted wearing a Pakistani army uniform at a forward post during Operation Sindoor. In fact, sources have confirmed that Yusuf, resident of Punjab province, was seen alongside Pakistani troops on the line of control on 9th of May. On your screens right now, these are latest images that we have accessed of top aide of Saifullah Kasuri, who was seen near the LoC. In fact, Saifullah Kasuri actually helped the Pakistani army to carry out a counter-strike. That's the latest details coming in. A quick word, Gursibran, with regards to the fact that the terrorists who were present there helped the Pakistani army, and the fact that the Pakistani army perhaps was also leaving their designated posts after India started using the M777 howitzers.
Yes, Yavan, it is very clear that from 22nd of April to the 10th of May, it was the Saifullah Kasuri who was hand in glove with the Pakistan army, starting from the Pahalgam terror attack to the Pakistan's retaliation, which they planned but completely failed, and have to come down on knees asking the DGMOs to speak so that there can be ceasefire. That is the Operation Masroor. But now the pictures that have come forth, wherein the bodyguard of Saifullah Kasuri can be seen in the forward post wearing the Pakistani army uniform, that is very clear that the Pakistan knew that India is going to retaliate badly, and that's why they went away. And it is the Lashkar cadre that took the place of the Pakistani regulars. That has been the point, because army has been actively supporting these terrorists when it comes to the infiltration, when it comes to launching attacks on India. But leaving the post for the Pakistani terrorists, that is very clear that what was actually how they were operating jointly when it comes to the Pakistani army and the terror group Lashkar-e-Toiba post Pahalgam attack as well, because prior to the Pahalgam attack they were actually planning how to carry out the Pahalgam, but post also they were hand in glove and were carrying out the plans against the India.
Gursibran and Ishan, thank you very much. A powerful edition of This Is Exclusive. We have now brought you full evidence of how our armed forces carried out one of the finest military operation. And for those who have been questioning our armed forces, they must think twice. When we have put out the evidence, it is very clear that it was one of the most successful operation ever carried out by the Indian Armed Forces. That's all that we could pack in this edition of This Is Exclusive. Coming up, trending with my colleague Akanksha.
Amity is proud to announce the